to walk, and if money talks, then my crypto wallet's gotta be monologuing. Ball out soon as my flight lands. Blue water, white sand, sitting short side with the whole fam, just vibing out, catching a light tan. Hustle strong, don't hustle wrong. Wanna see success, you found the right man. But please excuse me, we can talk later, cause at the moment got the buy plans on game. Diamond hands, title hella bands, I invest money very often. Tiptoe with this crypto, feel like Jim Jones where I'm ballin'. Big whale, I make money moves in that open sea, you a dolphin. Rest in peace to the paper hand, green candle, put him in a coffin. Started with a little bit, bull market, got me going all in. NFA, spend it all a day, wait, JK like Rawlin'. On the charts, I'm stalking. Take gains when it's falling. Don't get liquidated if you stallin'. New high, so appalling. We at an all-time high, partying in Dubai. We breaking out of the sky, moonshot when we fly, yo. Paper hand just might cry, price could blow your mind. Won't let it pass me by.
What's up, my Omi homies and fellow NFT collectors? It's Friday night, that means it's VeVe debate night, and tonight we got Superstar Money versus Superstar Money. Let's go. What's up, Rob and Joe? How y'all doing tonight?
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for having us on your channel to do this. I mean, we're always talking and chatting together, but now we have a chance to actually debate each other. So the topic's going to be a fun one too. So again, thanks for having us.
No problem. I appreciate you guys being on the channel. Thank you very much for being here.
No, appreciate it. Thank you. Like Rob said, you're one of the first channels that we started watching when we started playing the VeVe game, and learning tips and tricks from you was a blessing for us and our collections and all that. So very, very excited and humbled to be here.
Let's go. I appreciate that, man. We got all the Omi homies in the chat. We got Duck and Cover, Random Heroes here, Alejandro, Gio's here, Marquez is here. Got to get the bag. Firefly Odyssey, Drew Pear, Mark Gordon. What's up, everybody? Make sure y'all are following Superstar Money. Subscribe to their channel. I'm gonna link it in the chat. It's also linked in the description. And as always, on VeVe debate night, you know they're always fighting with each other. I told them I try to separate them a little bit so they can't hit each other, but they're fighting anyway. You guys know on VeVe debate night, we always start off with the same 3 questions for our debaters. I think Rob's going first on the opening argument, so I'll start with you, Joe, on this question, these 3 questions. And it's going to be, when did you personally get into VeVe? What's your most valuable NFT? It doesn't necessarily have to be a VeVe NFT. And tell me what your YouTube channel is about.
Okay, so first got into VeVe. It was during the Golden Moments week. I first saw a video from Andre Jick and verified the legitimacy, I guess, of the app through Disney's Twitter. If I didn't see that, I don't think I would be having any money into the app. I wasn't going to just buy it based off of a YouTube video. I needed a little bit more legitimacy. So the fact that we saw Disney tweet it out kind of helped me make my decision. And then since then, it's been pure addiction. Number 1 NFT is a VeVe NFT. And right now it's between 2 of them, depending on the price. Right now it's R2D2, I'm pretty sure. Got him on the drop. But I also do have an ASM 252 that I tried playing a flipping game with a couple weeks ago, and that didn't work out so well, so now I'm stuck with him, but I don't mind. It's pretty scarce, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about that later. Yeah, and sure. Our YouTube channel, we post every single day. We're talking about VeVe, and we plan to talk about a lot more things as well in the future, but right now it's predominantly VeVe, and basically positives, negatives, what we like, what we don't like. We kind of don't really limit what we talk about, and we're not necessarily moon boys or FUD boys, but some people in the comments will call us both. Which I guess is a good thing, because it means that we're touching on everything, and that's pretty much it. We post every single day, and if you're following us, you know what we're about.
Yeah, you guys definitely should be subscribed to Superstar Money by now. You can also follow them at Twitter. I have their Twitter linked in the description as well. We got some Superstar Money fans in the chat. Laura M. Muskie says, we got some master debaters tonight. We do got some master debaters. What's up, Rob? Let me know the same 3 questions. When you joined the VeVe app, did you join at the same time as Joe? And what's your most valuable collectible? And again, what's y'all's YouTube channels about? Is there something in particular that you focus on yourself? Is like Joe the comic guy and you're the collectible guy, or anything like that?
All right, so I'll just jump in here with the first question. So I actually started, Joe got me into it. I've always been interested in the NFT space, but VeVe was really legitimized to me, at least, once I saw that Disney partnership. And actually back then, when I saw Disney tweet it specifically, that's what really attracted me. I love Disney, big fan of Disney, their movies, obviously all their IP. They have some of the best IP in the world. that ultimately is what brought me into this app. But I came a little bit afterwards. I didn't participate in those first Golden Moments drops. I know Joe picked up some pretty nice ones. I think he had the Elsa and the, was it the R2D2, right? So I came in a little bit afterwards, unfortunately. And yeah, like my best NFT, I mean, at this point, like this is why maybe you got to go for the drop. I would say my best NFT right now is a number 54 Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. Like that. Oh, wow. I think long term these lightsabers can do pretty well, and I have a really low mint, so I'm gonna put that as my best NFT.
That's awesome.
And then our channel, like Joe did a pretty good synopsis there of what we do. We just try to bring different perspectives from the community, because you always have two sides of the story in the community. Sometimes we go one way and then we can equally go the other way. At the end of the day, we're very pro VeVe. We're in this for the long run. We think the project is probably going to be the best NFT project that there is. And this is the reason why we invest every day in putting out videos on VeVe, regardless of what we're talking about. So nothing else to add. Joe and I really, neither of us are a collectible buyer or comic guys. We're both VeVe guys. We just bring our own perspective to it. And we hope to try to provide some kind of entertainment and input to whoever's watching. And we love going back and forth in the comments. Probably the comments are one of my most favorite part of this whole thing, is the community aspect of it and doing things like we're doing right now with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it very fun. We got one guy in the chat that's yelling Joe, Joe, Joe. We got another one in the chat that's yelling Rob, Rob, Rob. So we got a 50-50 already going on. All right, guys. Oh my gosh. The topic today is a good one. It's one I've been wanting to do for a while. It's one that I struggle with and go back and forth on a lot. And it's comics versus collectibles. Which one is a better investment? Which one should you be stacking on the app? And we're going to start off with Rob with his opening arguments on why he thinks, I believe you're arguing collectibles, right?
I'm arguing collectibles. I think I got the easy one on this one. I'll be honest, because
tell us why.
To me, it's a no-brainer. Like if you had only enough money to go on one, let's say, and I know many people on the app are on both, but let's just, for today, we're going to be all in collectibles or all in comics. So ultimately, what is going to be the value of the NFTs going forward? So a lot of the people, I believe, on the VeVe space, and I think a lot of the people in the NFT space in general, they strongly care about utility above all else. Now, I understand that this right now with today's technology, you can collect them mainly. That utility hasn't come yet. It's baked into the prices and it's going to come eventually. We all know it, but utility will be the driving force. Now let's compare the two. Let's start with a comic. How is reading a comic utility? Let's think about this for a second. There's an app called Marvel Unlimited where I can go read Marvel Comics #1. So the utility of reading a comic is already out there and it's very easy to replicate and put online. Whereas the utility of the collectibles, now we can really scale. Like, let's think long-term, right? There's going to be a VeVe-verse. There's going to be metaverses. When that happens, imagine walking into your house with those special glasses and having the art you bought on VeVe geographically located on your wall. And your friends will see a different world when they put those on. You can't really do that with comics. Okay, you're going to treat it like a poster. That's about it. But with a collectible, when you can actually start animating them and making them do cool things, you can really create this world in your own house. And maybe not necessarily, that's very long-term, your own house, but maybe in a VeVe-verse environment where there's digital land, your showroom now has a geographic location. Maybe you're going to buy for your showroom. You're going to decorate the hardwood floor. You're going to decorate the walls. And then you're going to have some collectibles in there that people are going to walk in and be like, wow, look at these amazing collectibles. And they're animated. Wow, Darth Vader? That's incredible. So I think utility will be the driving force behind that. And that was just visual utility. What about gamification? How do you gamify a comic? You can easily gamify a collectible. There's collectibles right now on this app that are trading under $10. You know, Fastos, who's our boy, 9.9 million. And when these get gamified, all of a sudden now you're going to maybe participate in almost like an individual game where you have this collectible, so you're the villain. You have this collectible, so you're the good guy, and you have special powers linked to that collectible only. And then because there's scarcity and you can only have so many of them, now you can only participate in that game as that character if you start renting it. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to rent a comic book. I could go online and I can read it, but I would love to rent a game because I'm not going to be able to buy it because it's going to be too expensive to buy. I just want to play it or my kids want to play it. So I'll just go rent a gamified collectible and use it in that space. We saw some videos online of through your phone. You see it on, you see it on your table playing around one of those table games. really, it's endless what they can do with this going forward into the future. And then let's go. I'm going to use the word Pokemon. Okay, imagine Pokemon's around now. Those are collectibles. They're not going to be comics. So already, I mean, that's my first point. But already, you don't even want to own. Like when you compare the two, you can't. And that future rental is like very, very important because that future rental potential, depending on the utility that will come with some of these collectibles, and we don't know for sure if they're going to come. David, you was saying this is the best we have to offer, but we never know in the VeVe-verse how things are going to change. I think that people are going to be running to the collectibles way more than the secret rare comics. They look amazing. I've seen incredible things online with people doing crazy stuff right now in their showrooms. We had someone today on Twitter. Do you remember the name, Joe, that made the star?
Oh, there's a couple. Crypto Cookie was one, and I forget the other one, but there was two people who made stars out of lightsabers. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Great stuff. They made a star for us. Joe put out a calling on Twitter, and they did it. And we thank those superstars for doing that. But those are cool things you can do with collectibles. Forget it. What are you gonna do with a comic? What are you gonna do? Flip it on your table? There's nothing you can do with that. You can combine them together, and of course, ultimately, the potential for value, which is my final point, is more on the collectibles than the comics. Now, you can't compare a 70,000 lightsaber to a 250 scarcity comic. But if you have the same amount of equivalent cash, you probably want to go for that collectible to capitalize on that future value. And that is the time I'll pass it over to Superstar Joe.
I like those arguments. I mean, the utility one especially is a great point. The problem is that that's future utility. We don't know when it's coming or how far off it is. Let's go with Joe. Let's see what Joe's opening argument on why he thinks that comics are the better buy on the VeVe app than collectibles.
Okay, so I got a bunch of points, and I guess the first one I'll go with is the utility, because comics are basically the only thing right now with utility besides collectibles that you can put next to each other. A comic you could take out, you can read it, you can enjoy it for what it's meant to be. I understand that there's Marvel United out there, but I can't look at my comic in 3D through my phone with Marvel United. This one here, I can flip pages. It's almost giving you that AR metaverse experience. The biggest AR metaverse experience out of anything on the app right now. Second thing is, not only are comics, do they have utility, they are low barrier to entry. A drop costs $6.99. It's not expensive for you to get into. It'll bring in people. You need comics. If you don't have comics, things are more expensive, harder to get people onto the app and get addicted. You can stack comics because you can get a bunch on the drop. If you follow VeVe Vault's tips, you'll be good for sure. But also scarcity of comics right now. There are way more scarce comics out there with real world value than there are with collectibles. Rob Stuff says it all the time about the Todd Batman, how he couldn't get rid of it in his shop. It was almost impossible for him to sell them. But these comic books that we have on this app, Marvel Comics #1, you can't even find it. You can't even find it if you wanted to. There's very, very minimal. So this gives you the opportunity to even look at that comic and flip it around like as if you had a real one, as close as you're going to get, because the actual existing ones are very non-existent from what I understand, at least. Also, safety. If you've been in this app and you got in January and you bought collectibles and you bought comics, you're doing much better off right now with comics than you are collectibles. The collectibles are down like 90%. Comics are maybe down, what, 60, 70%? Sure, they're down huge, but you're not down as much. So if you want a little bit more safety in your investment, comics have proven the test of time, and they've gone through the cycle, and they've proven that they can handle it. People love them, and I think also the value of the comics is not completely built in yet because we do not have them in the showroom. So Mr. Moonboy over here is talking about all these things happening in the future. Let's talk about comics in showroom. And when that happens, and you can show off your collectibles in AR, in your metaverse house or whatever it is, those prices are going to go up. So if you're just hanging on to some of these comics right now, and that happens, I'm sure there will be a little bit of a nice pump for you whenever we do get that ability to show off a wall of comics, and you got all these Grails, and people are going in like, oh, I didn't know that the uncommon looks like that. I didn't know that the Superstar Money colors were on all of these comics. Let me go pick up a bunch of them. That's what's going to happen when you get comics in showroom. Then on top of that, MCP program. Guys, how are you going to rent out those collectibles that Rob's talking about if you're not in the tier to rent them out? You got to be able to get to a certain tier to rent them out, or you got to pay. So if you can get into MCP Pro by stacking a bunch of rare comics, then you're able to rental collectibles and make some passive income when that does come in the future. So there's a lot of good things for comics in the app. Collectibles has yet to prove it to me. Sure, you got some grails that are worth a lot of money that have also been destroyed from 40,000 to now 8,000 for a wall, for example. But comics, you got the Grail of Grails, which is the Marvel Comics #1, still sitting in the 20 of thousands. But we do not have that mug yet, so collectibles are still not there, in my opinion. That's the end of my my opening argument.
Yeah, those are some great points. I agree with all of them, especially MCP. I think a lot of people discount that right now, but utility is king. The question is, do all those great points, do they equal, do they beat utility? Because I do think the collectibles will have the best utility in the future. Let's check the chat. Laura says, Joe is 100% right, but I have to choose my BFF, Rob. Dennis O'Connor says, collectibles are just the next shiny toy to play with until the next one comes out. Dennis says, comics do have an amazing amount of possibility for utilities. Garrett says, the debate is bullish. And JML says, I love Rob, but Joe is giving me a C3PO to support him. Ooh, I don't know if that was a legal move right there. I guess it's fair play. Whatever happens, goes. All right, we do got some subtopics for this this debate. And the first one is the real world value. And I think it comes in to play here when we're talking comics and collectibles, because if you look at the Todd statue, you look at toys. Toys don't have as much value as an old school 1939 Marvel #1 comic. So, of course, Joe, you're first this time, and I feel like you have the advantage on this argument. Let me know why real world value lets you know that comics are the right ones to invest in on the VeVe app.
Well, I think it's pretty simple when it comes to comics and real world value, because when people go to list in the marketplace, or when they're even reviewing the drop, they're looking at like the Go Collect, for example, all these YouTube content creators that are talking about the comics. You got VeVe and 3, VeVe Vision, all these other great content creators. They are referencing real world value. They're saying this comic book is worth this much. Why are they doing that? Because that gives people an idea of how important the book is. And now I'm sure that I'm not, and Rob's not, and there's a lot of you, I don't know about you, Vault, but how many people here were comic book collectors before they came into VeVe? Now, a bunch of you are collecting digital comics over physical comics because of the real world values. You've looked it up, you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually worth this much. Who knew? I'm sure that a lot of you didn't know Marvel Comics #1 was so valuable. I had no clue until I came here. So I think that's a big reason why real world value is important, especially with comics, because people have something to reference. And when people are investing their money, they want to know how much something is worth. And if you have something to actually compare it to in real life and kind of get an idea, you're probably a little bit closer and probably will have less volatility when it comes to market crashes. And I think that's part of the reason why maybe comics have held up through these cycles.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think real world value does matter. I don't know if it's going to equate, if it's going to translate over to the NFT world as much as we think it's going to. I mean, you do have an Aston Martin secret rare. I mean, how much is the real world value of that Aston Martin DB5? So what's your counter argument on this topic, this subtopic, Rob, about the real world value and how comics have more real world value than the collectibles?
Yeah, I think ultimately when it comes to choosing to own collectibles or owning comics, I think that we're in a digital world, right? So the physical world does matter as a way for us to gauge how much these collectibles should be worth, but not always, because it depends on mint size, it depends on a lot of things. But these digital ones, I mean, it's not like we're completely out of whack by saying we know NFTs out there and they're JPEGs that exist have values upwards in that hundreds of thousands, $1 million range. So it's not like NFTs, we don't have some kind of baseline already baked in, knowing that they can hit some of the levels of pricing that we've seen with some of these extremely old comic books. So I think that we do have physical world value with collectibles too. It just may be a kind of a different format. It's not the exact same cover, but the same thing with comic books. It's not the exact same physical thing either. They don't get destroyed. So yeah, the physical world value is a way to help us gauge how good a comic is. But part of the reason why those are so valuable is the scarcity that exists in the real world. It's the difficulty of making sure the condition of the comic actually stays good and finding one that didn't get tarnished along the way. These are digital, they never get destroyed. So I don't think that VeVe collectibles per se don't necessarily have some kind of benchmark in the physical world. We do know Star Wars things do go for very expensive. Star Wars collectibles do go for very expensive pricing as well. So it's not a complete like, oh yeah, like the collectibles don't have anything. Secondly, the future utility, again, going back to that, we know the utility is going to be one of the main driving things of value going forward. It's a digital
Cody
space.
collects super chat
Our
at
minds
$7.83.
haven't come yet
Wow,
to
I've seen these
understand
guys on
all the
TV before
utility
they're
that we
good.
might get with these digital collectibles. So that future utility is going to link to that digital pricing that we'll see only in NFC space, and the physical world will never be capable of. And it's become a complete brand new market as well. So that's my response to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already seen some of the real world counterparts go up in value, especially that Todd McFarlane figurine. Shout out to Kobe Collects for the big super chat. I forgot to turn my robot lady's voice off. He says, whoa, I've seen these guys on TV. They're good. That's why I got them on here. They're good. Let's go. Marquez says it all depends on the market. So technically they're both correct. It just depends which way the scale is teeter-tottering. It seems like the market does go back and forth. Sometimes the comics are hot and sometimes the collectibles are hot. What's up, Brendan Z in the house? Squad is here. Says collectibles value is dictated by the VeVe community. If the sentiment is low, so will the collectible. We've seen that on the lightsabers. I guess it had a lot to do with the edition size too, though. All right, let's check what the new, the next subtopic is. And we've already talked about this a little bit, but maybe you guys want to touch on it again. The utility of the NFTs. Well, I guess we can skip this one. You guys both really went into utility. We talked about that a lot. We think the collectibles are going to have the most utility, but we don't know when. Right now, technically, the comics have the most utility. But I think this is really interesting here, and I'm probably sure the comic guys would disagree with a lot of people that the character first appearances, which one is more important? Is it the first appearance of that character in a comic book, or is it the first appearance of their collectible on the VeVe app? And I'm going to start with you, Rob, this time. What do you think, my man? Do you think it's also the collectibles here, the first appearance of the characters?
I think that first appearances will matter in the long term, and I think it does matter more in the collectible space. And the reason for that is obviously tied to everything we've already discussed with just the utility, but not just that, just the ability to be the first on the blockchain in a collectible format. At the end of the day, a comic might have a first appearance of any character, but that's not the first appearance of the character. The first appearance of the character is when it's in digital format, it actually looks in its 3D form and not in a paper digital cover that you can flip. So I think that FAs in collectibles will always be recognized as the first in the blockchain. And you can say it's the first comic with this character in the blockchain, but the first character will be the first in the blockchain, which are the collectibles and not the comic.
Yeah, and I know we're going to have this issue coming up when it comes to Darth Vader, because we've already had Darth Vader on the cover of some of those comics, those Star Wars comics, and we're about to have a Darth Vader collectible. I saw Joe shaking his head no. He obviously disagrees with Rob on this topic. What do you think about the character first appearance in the comics? Why are they more important than the collectible first appearances?
I just think VeVe's got the FAs and FEs all mixed up all the time, that the collectibles FAs and FEs have lost basically any credibility at this point, and there's nothing saying that in the future that they won't mess it up again, right? So I think it could be fixed. I think there's things that could be fixed, but like, look, for example, Supergirl, that one comes to mind. The original Supergirl is like doing this wacky pose like this. You got the newer Supergirl look much more realistic. There's a bunch of FAs that are done dirty. The Disneys, you're throwing them on lenticular cards, calling them FEs, and then you're pulling out Donald and Daisy together in one collectible. What's going on? What's going on? Nobody cares about that. The comics, the FA matters, and it is shown in the price. It is shown in VeVe Ranks tier list. You go to the tier list, the ones at the top of the list are all first appearance of whoever, right? First appearance in the comic books matters because it's proven already in the real world. It already exists, and the comic or the collectibles right now is just all up in the air. Until they figure it out, comics, FA matters more.
I mean, yeah, you want to talk about messing it up. They had, was the Captain America Mighty Marvel, the first appearance, and then they dropped the animated one and it didn't get the tag. I guess the tags matter, though. I mean, the comics don't get tags, and the collectibles do get the FA tags, and people care about tags. So I can see this going either way. I'll let you guys in the chat decide. I know Joe was trying to flatter me earlier about talking about my tips. Flattery will get you nowhere in this debate. The people in the chat get to decide with the final vote. But let's bring up the next subtopic. And this one we'll start with you, Joe. We're going to talk about the Grails. And the Grails, you got the comic, you got, of course, Marvel #1 Secret Rare, and you got Fantastic Four #1 Secret Rare. And I'm always talking about the Secret Rares. I'm not worried about the commons. I'm talking about those really scarce ones. And to compare it, on the other side of the collectibles, you got your partner statues, you got your Todd McFarlane, you got your Donnies. So tell me, Joe, why are the Grails and the comics more important than the Grails and the collectibles?
This goes back to a lot that we've talked about already. And I've said it on the channel before, if I could have one item on the app, it would be Marvel Comics Secret Rare #1. It's 600 mints, real world comparable. The price has held up for the most part. Sure, it's gone up and down, but not nearly as much as some of these other Grails that we've seen get destroyed by 70-80%. I like the fact that it has that real world comparable. and 600 mint. Like there's not much. Maybe the Aston Martin has that, but real world comparable is a real car that you can actually drive around. A comic book is something you can read, and Marvel Comics #1, you can't even do that in real life. Like it's that scarce, right? So that's my reasoning. I've always wanted Marvel Comics Secret Rare #1, but I know that's probably going to be the hardest one for me to get long term, just because it holds its value.
Yeah, I know the Secret Rare comics usually have about 500 or 600 editions. I know Marvel Comic #1 though has more, but we got some Grail collectibles like the Secret Rare Spider-Man that only have 1,000 editions, so there's some scarcity there. Let me know, Rob, what you think about this. Why are the Grails and the collectibles more important than the Grails in the comic section?
Well, let's just think about it. I'm pretty sure every single person here right now, if they had the cash to go buy Secret Rare comics or a partner statue, they would take the partner statue. And the reason why is because it's the first golden moment. The reason why is because, well, I should be careful with that, but it's the iconic Disney, okay, and Mickey. So that is a Grail in the collectible space. It's highly sought after because of its earliness in time. And right now in history, we're not that far. As time goes on, people will want it. There's a lot of speculation that in the future, there might be baked in utility into some of these collectibles. They probably won't get added utility in terms of an animated form, but they would probably get added utility maybe you have access to buy something on Disney, or maybe you have access. Some people are talking about Club 33. I don't know about that. But yeah, like the collectibles are ultimately going to be the things that people flex on. So part of NFTs, it was Andre Jick, who made a video who talked about NFTs and how something that has no, it does not have any productivity. How is it something that has no productivity is able to be so expensive and worth so much money? And part of the reason why is that it's just a flex. And you know, it's no different than why people buy Rolexes or why people buy what he calls, I believe it's called Veblen goods, which are just a flex. Like, look, you will buy a partner statue, and then all of a sudden you've joined a party of elite people, we'll call it. You've joined that party of people who now also own one. I think there's 7,500. You're now part of that group. And the same could be said on the comic side with the Secret Rares, but it's not quite the same as a collectible with its 3D animation, the detailing, and in the future, its ability to be integrated into these metaverse spaces, which, yes, it doesn't exist yet, but I'm going to go off VeVe's white paper. I know that that's the plan. That's why they created this company. I have a feeling that we will see in the future integration of collectibles into a metaverse, which could be the VeVeverse. And when it first comes, it might be in its early form. As time goes on and it can actually develop, we might actually see something that you will actually be able to flex outside of your phone, and people will see it and they will love it. It might be in your house, it might be wherever. So again, I'm going back to the long-term thinking, but even in the now, it's baked in. That expectation is baked into the price, and the fact that, of course, it's one of the first Disney ones out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm personally not a huge fan of the partner statue. I think it's a little overrated at 4,333 editions, but the collectible Grails like the Aston Martin Secret Rare and the Todd McFarlane Batman, even though it has 7,500 editions, the Secret Rare Spider-Man, I think those are going to have some awesome utility if you're able to use them as skins in the metaverse, and it's interoperable and other people will see you wearing those skins. That's going to get them pumped about it. They're going to want to go buy it, and it's going to drive up prices for sure. Let's check out the chat. We got Drew Perry says Donald Duck lenticular should have been an FA. The 2D Donald Duck was the first. That's true, but you can't get an FA on those. They only get the FE tags. There's only 7 character collectibles on the app with the FE tag, and there'll never be more. And I kind of feel like people sleep on those 7 characters. Squad says VeVe collectible FA can change. We've seen this before. I know that's what Joe was saying. I don't know if they're going to do that again. The community didn't like that too much. Musky Doe says Kobe in the house. Laura says Joe, focus on your debate. Joe's in here on the Superstar Money account trying to get votes, trying to get votes together. Hey, I think that's legal.
I gotta join the chat, and I'm gonna jump in there.
Get in there. He's over there getting votes together, saying vote for Joe. We got one more subtopic on this one, and I know we've talked about this a little bit already. Short term versus long term, and I'm gonna start with you, Rob. Do you think? I know you're bullish on the collectibles overall, but do you think short term maybe that the comics are gonna do better, and is it smart to buy the comics now, or short term do you think collectibles are the best way to go still?
That's a tough one to generalize because it will be in the short term. It's what collectibles you buy, and it's also what comics you buy. So there's always going to be opportunity on both sides. Generally, I'm going to favor the collectibles. I'm looking at my own personal purchases, right? Like we have the hot thing right now, and I think someone in the comments mentioned everyone always goes to the new shiny thing, but it's the Star Wars collectibles, and we already had a couple before. And those are some of the most expensive things on the app, and now we have some new ones. Now I know they're high mint numbers, but if in the short term, I would take a gamble with gems, which are becoming very scarce for a lot of people. They're gaining their collections. We're tracking gems in app all the time on Putin Cheats' spreadsheet, and we see that right now it's declining. I would bet on the collectibles. It's just more fun to have, and it has higher potential long term. So that's where I would go if I had to gamble on one of them.
Ooh, I don't know. It's tough. That's a hard choice. I don't know if I'm with you on that. I'm kind of 50-50 right now. Joe, see if you can convince me that comics is the best way to go short term, and is collectibles the best way to go long term?
I think comics is the best to go short term and long term. If you want to talk about short term, let's look at January to May. Comics have held up. They've withheld the storm. They have that real world value that people look to, and maybe part of the reason why they don't sell them off as quickly. Long term, if you're holding comics, especially rare comics right now, go check out VeVeSetList.com. They got the list there that shows you what's the best bang for your buck. You're going to go and you're going to rank that list, and everything at the top is going to be comics. If you want to get into the MCP Pro and you want to have enough points or whatever it is, you're going to be stacking comics long term so that you can get the ability to rent out whatever collectibles there are at that point in time, because whatever comes out in the future in terms of collectibles might end up being better than what you have now. So why hold on to that? You're not going to get something better than Marvel Comics #1, except maybe like Amazing Spider-Man or Amazing Fantasy 15, or maybe you'll get Action Comics or something like that at some point. But in terms of utility and how they look and stuff like that, collectibles can always be upgraded and look better. Comics are comics. What else are you going to get?
Yeah, they got history to them. They're never going to change. People know what they're looking for. Even the old men will be able to recognize them. People that aren't usually into this type of technology, they're going to get on the app if they ever do. Once it goes to mass production or whatever, they're going to be able to see their grandkids' NFT, their comic, and be like, hey, I recognize that. I had that when I was a kid or something. That's going to drive collectability for sure. All right, guys, I think it's time to start our vote. We're going to do a vote in the chat. We used to do a prize, an NFT prize for the winner, but now that transfers are turned off, there's no prize. But these guys are both on the same channel, so they get to brag about it right to the other guy's face when they're fighting each other. So I guess you get bragging rights. So we're going to start I'm going to put the poll up here so you guys can vote on the winner. Remember, Joe is arguing for comics and Rob is arguing for collectibles. And like usual, while we're doing the voting, we're going to do our lightning round and ask these guys some questions. Of course, we're going to start off with Vader. What's going on with Vader? We'll start with you, Rob. Let me know what you think the edition size is going to be, the retail price. What do you think the retail price is going to be? And what do you think the price predictions are going to be for that?
Yeah, we've seen this before. I think David Yu knows to take advantage of the opportunity when it's presented to him. I really do expect a high mint number and a high price. We've seen this already with a bunch of the other Star Wars stuff. So I would be surprised if he goes to a low mint number. Maybe what they'll do is they'll mix it up and put the secret rare with a very low mint number and then just load up the other ones. Because I think it said it's 3 different ones.
Right.
But I'd be surprised if he doesn't try to take advantage of this. Like the lightsabers have pretty much sold out. I don't know if they sold out yet, but I think there was only like 4% left earlier today.
Yeah,
and I'm sure. Sorry, did they sell out?
Not yet. I think they're about to sell it. I think they'll sell it by the end of the day.
Yeah. So I think they made over 4 million there. And why? Because of the IP. So, I mean, if I was him, he's running a business. He'll probably go high mint, I think, and high price. And now the exact price, maybe we'll see a 60 again. Maybe we'll see 100. I don't know what he's going to do. I hope he doesn't go too high because it just kind of, people feel like it's just a money grab if you go too high on the mints and too high on the price.
Laura M. super chatted $4.99. TEAMROB.
Shout out to Laura M. Team Rob in the house. I think she went back and forth. She was Team Joe at first. Now she's Team Rob. Let me know what you think, Joe, on the Darth Vader drop. I'm kind of with Rob here. I'm hoping that it's like 50 or 60 gems, but it could end up being 100 or 120. I've heard some people speculate that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be it's going to make some history here. I think you're going to have at least 50,000 mints in total. There's going to be 3 different variants, and Alex G confirmed on a Spaces that only one of them will be animated. So I could see that one maybe being where they get their scarcity. If they call it a secret rare or whatever, maybe they do like 1,977 mints on that one, and the other ones are just to get people in, kind of help out the Star Wars fans to be able to get something. They might do like 75,000 on this, throw like 30,000, 35,000, and whatever, right? Like 10,000. I don't know. I think if they want it to be like a Grail like the other ones, though, they're gonna try and bring it down in edition size for like maybe the most scarce one. So I can see the price being no lower than like 120. I think it's gonna be over 120 gems to go for this drop. And I see a high edition size. Why not? This is the biggest drop that they've done. They have the most amount of users signed up. Who knows how many people are using it at this point? But if they want to make a splash and they want to show Lucasfilms and Disney and all these guys that they're for real and that they can sell out millions of dollars in 25 seconds, then they go with the high price tag, like Rob said. They go with the high edition size, and that's what they're going to do. And good for them.
Man, I was excited about it until you said 120 gems for 75,000 editions. Oh my goodness, that's gonna get wild. But you know I'm gonna buy a couple boxes even if they do. Shout out to Rob Stuff.
Yeah.
We got Rob Stuff in the chat. What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here on the debate night. You can vote for who you think won the debate. Joe was up to like 60%, but now his lead is starting to dwindle. He's down to 56%. Gio, hit me up on the Discord. I don't know what's going on with you. All my moderators should have a different color to their tag, so you should be able to click on their name from the user list to know who's a mod and who isn't. All right, guys, another question that I like to ask while we're doing our voting is, and I'll start with you, Joe, this time. What is your favorite NFT on the app that you don't yet own?
Ooh.
And if you say a collectible, then you just automatically lose.
Yeah, it's Marvel Comics #1 Secret Rare. That's the one thing that I want and I probably never will be able to afford. But that's the chase item.
Yeah, that's a Grail. What about you, Rob? What's the one item on the app that you don't own yet that you wish you owned?
No, I'd probably go with an R2D2. I don't own one. It's getting, the price is coming down. Might be possible coming up, but depending on how I want to use my gems. But I wouldn't mind picking up one of those older golden moments if I could.
Yeah, I just recently bought an Elsa because I sold all my golden moments a while back, and I feel like now's the time to start picking them back up. So I've been doing that myself. And what do you guys think about tomorrow's drop? Tomorrow we got 3 posters dropping for 40 gems each, blind box drop. Rob is got his nose up. He's shaking his head. No, he does not like it. What do you think your price prediction on those 3 are going to be tomorrow, Rob?
My prediction, that's a tough one, but I will not be going for it. I'm just not into the posters. I'm going to skip it. I think that they'll probably go underlisted. But I don't know. It's at the end, Star Wars is hard to bet against. So I don't know, 35. Is it if it's 40 listed, 35?
Really?
Yeah,
I can see them possibly going into retail. I mean, the edition size isn't huge. 40 gems isn't a ton, and it's Star Wars. But we've seen what posters have done in the past. What do you think, Joe? What's your price predictions for tomorrow's Star Wars posters drop?
Yeah, I don't think posters are very well received by the community as we've seen in the past. But like you said, it's kind of a low edition run. We got 7, 11, you got 18, like 20,000 mints.
Right.
I kind of with Rob on it. I think that maybe the more like the one with 12,000 is probably going to go like 35. I think they're going to be close to retail. They'll be close to retail. You have some like under, some like just over. There's nothing really that's, I guess, Return of the Jedi is a little bit more scarce. Maybe that'll be like 80.
Yeah, I'm checking it out right now. The uncommon is the Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and there's about 8,000 of those. And then the common is 12,000, and that's the Empire Strikes Back. And then the ultra rare, there's a little bit less than 4,000 of those, and it is Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So I don't think the ultra rare will go under retail, but the other 2, it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that.
Mauricio thinks Vader's going to be 60 gems. I'm hoping it's 50 or 60 if we're lucky. All right, it's been 5 minutes, so let's see who won. Oh, man, it ended up coming really, really close at the end. Joe with 52%, Rob with 48%, just a 2% difference. Let's go. Congratulations. I guess that means comics wins. I'm still like, whew, that's such a hard choice for me. I think it's smart to diversify. Do either you guys buy all comics or all collectibles?
51.
Are you guys diversifying too? Oh, yeah, it changed at the last second too, 51%.
Yeah, I think in the end, I think most people on the app do diversify into both. And that's why it's a question where there's pros and cons. And most people, I think, own a little bit of each. They kind of diversify. They don't have to choose between one or the other, because regardless of how many gems you have, you most likely will spread it out between some comics and some collectibles. I actually bought a comic as my first one. I bought Marvel Comics #1 common. That was my first NFT that I bought here on VeVe. So there's a time and place for all. Joe and I back in a while, I can't remember how long. I think in January we made a video. We talked about the MCP program and how at that time the rare comics seemed to be the best bang for your buck. So it's something that if you care about MCP Pro, there's a lot of benefits to it in the future. I know some people just throw it out. You would be able to capitalize on that long term if you were to pick up these rare comics earlier on, and then it just accumulates in points as time goes on when it goes retroactive. So
I've been
that's
telling people that too, that rare is definitely your best bang for the buck, especially on some of those cheap comics, because you get 2 MCP points per day. Joe, what about you? Are you mostly comics, mostly collectibles, or are you 50-50 on your collection?
During this last dip, I used to be close to 50-50, but as we were going down this ride, and we've done some analysis, especially a lot of our recent videos, I'm sure a lot of your viewers have seen them. Your VeVe collectibles are going to zero. We were out in the open about it, why our reasonings were that way. We see the Gems in app and we just see it constantly on a decline. It just kind of shows that maybe not as many people are coming in now as there was before. Also, they probably don't have an accurate count of it because of all the bots that were in earlier. So I do see it eventually flipping and having more people coming into the app once they have everything in place and they start doing a full marketing campaign. Like what they did this weekend, that's nothing compared to what they're capable of doing in the future. So I think like right now I sold off pretty much all of my collectibles and I kept a few of whatever I had low mints, like, and by low mints I say sub 1,000. Everything else I sold off. I kept all my comics. Oh, wow. I'm getting all of my MCP points still. I'm never even looking at them. I'm never planning to look at them. It's like having like dividend stocks or whatever, in my opinion. So that for me, we're getting the points every day, and I didn't sell any of those. So when you gave us this debate and I got comics, I was very happy because that's kind of been my strategy this whole time. And I think even Rob, even though he had to debate the collectibles, I think he's still very pro comic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Pro both. I think, like I said, I think a lot of people want to own both. I mean, we made sure we picked up all the A rank comics, if you can, the S rank comics. So right. There's good reasons to own both of them, and I think most people do own both of them in the app. Right now, with Vader coming out, though, regardless of this debate, I think we have most people going for that Vader drop tomorrow. Absolutely. Could be a future Grail, right? Depending on the mints.
Yeah, and comics is how I kind of came up on my account. I started off buying all those cheap comics when they were like 4 or 5 gems, and I stacked up on them, and then they went to like 100, and I had a bunch of extra gems. That's how I bought my collectibles. So I can see it both ways. I appreciate you guys being on the channel today and debating and doing VeVe debate night for me. I'm going to link your guys' YouTube channel in the chat. Again, it's also in the description. If you guys aren't already subscribed to Superstar Money, make sure you subscribe to them. You can also check them out on the Parology website I've been telling you guys about. They're on Parology. They got their own group that you can join. And man, you guys did great. I appreciate y'all for being on the channel.
Before you close out, I want to say we appreciate you for all that you do for the community, how you run your live streams. We learned so much from you, and how like all the drop tricks before we even started YouTube, we learned from your channel. So thanks for having us on. We had a lot of fun being here, and of course, appreciate you and everything that you do, and appreciate you having us on.
And join his membership, guys. Join his membership. He's always giving back to the community. He never asks, you know what I mean? So join the membership. Give back to VeVe Vault for always doing those streams. Long hours he's putting in. Every stream before and after the drop. He's making entertainment for you guys. Even when the market is down, he hasn't skipped a beat, you know? So make sure you guys join the membership and check out VeVe Vault every time.
Are longtime members of my channel. They've been supporting me for a long time. I appreciate you guys a lot. Make sure you all are subscribed to Superstar Money, especially Joe, since he was the winner tonight, even though we got Laura in here demanding a recount. I'll check the numbers again just to make sure. But I appreciate you guys. I will see y'all around in the community. And thanks again. Later, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
My bad. I didn't really think of a good outro.